comfortable with the idea that by studying at the University of Sydney, you're complicit in funding climate change? Our university invests millions in the fossil fuel industry. We study here, we pay our tuition fees, we pump money into these fossil fuel companies, and in return, they pump emissions into our atmosphere. But here's a paradox. The overwhelming majority of students here, in fact the 2014 referendum put it at 80% of those surveyed, support full divestment from fossil fuels. We're funding scientific research into climate change, its causes and its effects, and we're going to classes learning about it. And yet we're investing in it, ensuring its continuance. Unlike this guy,
I think that there'll be little change here. It'll go up, it'll get a little cooler, it'll get a little warmer like it always has for millions of years.
I'm sure you're all intelligent enough to know that it's getting a little hot in here. I think you also know that it's most probably our fault. So what's our university doing to address the issue? After the student protest back in 2014, the university committed to implementing a new investment policy which aims to reduce the overall carbon footprint of its portfolio by 20% over a period of 3 years.
That means they're going to, in some way, assess the exposure of those investments to fossil fuels in terms of the companies that they hold a stake in, and somehow reduce that overall exposure by 20%, which means that they'll still leave 80% of those current investments in fossil fuel related companies in their portfolio.
20% just isn't good enough. It's kind of made it seem like the issue's dealt with, but really we just need to be working harder and working stronger and aiming for that 100%.
Communities are suffering a lot from this. Like, we spoke to a farmer who has lead poisoning because of their proximity to the mine, a mine that they never wanted, that they were never consulted about. Water in aquifers is being polluted by gas drilling, as well as by runoff from the tailings from the mine. First of all, it's not being able to see the direct effects, and secondly, that the idea that if we do nothing that's neutral is a big problem.
Perhaps the bigger issue though is that it's simply not enough. It's time we did more.
I think a lot of people actually do care a lot. They just feel like they can't contribute as a student in any way, or that their voice will just be a drop in the ocean, which is a pretty common feeling.
People in general think that it's okay because it's the norm, or oh, they're doing their little bit, at least 20% is out.
The power of the global divestment movement is growing. Around Australia and the world, students and staff are making their voices heard. Just last Monday, the Enviro Collective at USYD staged a wedding in protest to bring the university to account.
The university and renewable energy as a commitment ceremony to divest from fossil fuels.
And universities, banks, councils and other institutions around the world have started committing to divest from fossil fuel companies. And we've done this before. In 1982, the university became the first to divest its shares from the tobacco industry. We now have the opportunity to demonstrate similar leadership once again.
On this campus, there are a bunch of campaigns that are, in the process of creating institutional change just because of students being committed enough and vocal enough to bring this issue to light and to ask for the university to take responsibility, essentially.
I think that the university has a good opportunity to show some leadership in this field. They need to manage that portfolio in the interests of students, in the interests of staff, alumni, as well as the donors as well. And when we think about the interests of all of those groups of people, they all have an interest in a safe climate going forward.